2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brannon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us. How do I hold boundaries when I feel like he's just going through the motions to appease me? Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers.
We're therapists.
And we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin. Hey, Tyler.
Brannon, good to see you, man.
It's I see you quite a bit, but every time I see you, it's good to see you.
Hey, Monday mornings are one of my favorite times of the week.
Oh, you don't have to say.
Because I know I get 2 hours with most of your attention. So
Tyler likes to claim I'm ADD. You've diagnosed me as a narcissist. Now
no, I didn't diagnose you. The listener diagnosed you as a narcissist.
What else am I? I mean,
but you are you definitely are ADD. 100%, no doubt. There's no shame in that. There's no shame in that, but that is true.
I've been trying to get an appointment to address it, but I just haven't been able to focus long enough to get it.
To get your appointment. You keep forgetting to go get your appointment.
Yeah, I'm just too disorganized.
Yeah.
I got to diagnose you with some mental health stuff.
I've got plenty. I'm sure you wouldn't take too long.
You're just like healthy. You're just like healthy physically, mentally, spiritually. Like you're just a perfect example of perfect health.
At least from the outside.
I mean,
view,
look at
right?
your teeth. Your teeth are like
match.
Your teeth match your health. Like cousin
straight. Jeff did a perfect job. You don't know how many times people have especially, and you know what's funny is on a Zoom meeting, these things pop like they're like glow in the dark.
I know. So, like I get blinded by them every Monday morning. Holy cow. Look at those things. Yeah, those pearly whites. Yeah. So anyways, who would have known mid-40s, I'd just be a mess and unhealthy, and you'd just be walking.
I don't think that's true, man. We all have our bumps and bruises, man.
All right, enough on this. Let's get to our guest today. We got a good guest today. So, Allie, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
If you could give us a little bit about what's going on with you, and we'll just kind of go from there.
All right. I just wanted to take a minute and tell all the different callers that have called in, just to express my gratitude for their courage, because honestly, the callers that have called in and talked to you guys have really changed my life and helped me refocus and helped me become grounded. So I just wanted to say thank you first.
That's
to start
awesome.
out.
It's beautiful.
So, all right. Well, I typed this up because, as I told you guys, I'm a little bit nervous and I just want to be as clear as possible. So bear with me. My husband and I have been married 16 years and have 3 children. We are both from a faith-based background, He grew up as a pastor's kid in a Pentecostal church, and I was raised evangelical. Tyler, when you talk about being the good guy, I feel like that's textbook him. He's the definition of that. Everybody loves him, and he doesn't want to ever tell anyone no. Just all around good guy. We grew up in a heavily pushed purity culture mindset. Sex and sexuality was only to be explored or talked about in a marriage covenant. I grew up in a very sex positive home and discussed it pretty openly. However, in his home, sex and sexual desires were not talked about at all. During our premarital counseling, porn and masturbation did come up, and he mentioned that he had struggled with it off and on as a teen. But our first D-Day was actually in our first year of marriage when I was using his computer and stumbled upon a saved file that had some pornographic content. I'd asked him about it, and of course he played it off as nothing and said it was probably just something from the past that he had forgotten to get rid of. I was not as naive and didn't believe him. I took it personally and felt like there was something wrong with me, that I wasn't enough. He thus not be attracted to me or wanted something else. My beliefs around sex told me that I had the responsibility for keeping from him to need porn or sexual escape. After that, it was years of distrust and always feeling distant or that something was off in our intimacy. I remember multiple times that I'd be upset and tell him that I just couldn't figure out why I felt so unloved, felt distanced, or not cherished. Fast forward to 2016, we had our third child. He was born with a genetic disorder and has a rare disease that makes him reliant on us for his complete care. It was a year of multiple hospitalizations and near-death experiences for our child. My husband is also a textbook workaholic. So to cope, he just worked more, making me feel alone in an already difficult situation. In the summer of 2017, I was battling postpartum and pretty severe depression and trying to wrap my mind around our lives being turned upside down. I told my husband that I was questioning my own will to live and needed help. I told him I was going to therapy with or without him, and he's very anti-therapy and didn't want to go. But after much prompting and encouragement, he did agree to come. During our therapy, there was a lot of healing that took place. We talked about pretty much everything that was going on, and also about his addiction to porn, video games, alcohol, and things that he used to escape, working all the time, and how I felt alone. In January 2022, we had another discovery, and instead of falling apart with tears and letting my emotions run the conversation, which always just seemed to push him away, I decided to write him a letter. I told him that I didn't want to live like that anymore. I told him what his addiction was doing to me and our marriage and what values it went against. He still responded, trying to explain it away, and told me that he would work at it. I started reading and educating myself on sexual addictions, betrayal, trauma, and I stumbled upon your podcast. It literally changed my life. This sounds ridiculous, but after nearly 14 years of marriage, I truly understood and believed that his addiction and lack of integrity surrounding our sexual relationship was not about me. It was like a weight was lifted off. I took your advice and butt out of his recovery completely. I stopped asking and stopped placing expectations on what I thought it should look like, and I dove headfirst into my own recovery. I started running and working out and working on my own healing of my heart and mind. It changed my life. As a mom to a special needs child, I realized the importance of caring for my body and my own mental health. I feel like there's been some change, and I can now feel when he's being honest and trustworthy and when he's not. I am a teacher, and I actually just went back to school a few weeks ago, and I noticed over the last few weeks that things fell off again. I told him how I felt some distance between us and that he was starting to work more than usual and play more video games. I told him I felt like he was being evasive and things seemed off when we were intimate. He did say he was struggling again, but I was also met with defensiveness, and our conversation got pretty heated. Some of the comments he made in the conversation were, "I've made so much progress and gone long months of time without relapsing, and you still don't trust me. I don't have time for an accountability partner or to go to a group. What is it that you want from me?" And the last comment was devastating. He said, "I feel like the only thing I bring to the table is a paycheck." I mostly just listened and could feel his overwhelm. The last comment definitely surprised me and made me feel really sad. I did tell him that I was sorry, and that I felt like that it was obviously not true. And although we do appreciate him and his hard work and sacrifices he makes, his value as a man and husband were not dependent on that. For me personally, what was most concerning was that I didn't really feel emotional. I wasn't sad or angry. I wasn't anxious or upset. I just felt kind of numb and hopeless. I felt like it doesn't matter how it doesn't matter how I show up or the things that I do or don't say. He just doesn't seem to want to change this part of his life. He does verbalize that he wishes he didn't have to deal with it, but when it comes right down to it, he doesn't want to put any effort into making lasting change. So I guess the long story short is I'm tired of this crazy cycle. Sometimes I feel like it's an uphill battle with no end in sight, and I believe that God can change anyone, but will he ever get past his shame and pride and recognize that this is destroying our marriage? If I were a client that came into your office, what would you tell me? What is in my power to change, and what else can I be doing in my current situation?
Awesome.
Wow. That's a really good synopsis for us to work with. Allie, thank you. Tough situation to be in. And I think it's great that you're on the show today because there's going to be a lot of other people in a very similar situation. So this will hopefully be helpful for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. So where do we start? Right. So are you currently going to therapy?
So I was up until probably 6 or 8 months ago. I was talking to my therapist, and his recovery did come up sometimes, but she pretty much told me, like, every man is going to do this, and you talking about this or worrying about this is never, like, I don't know why, because this is just like a normal thing, and you need to kind of let that go. So I quit going to her because I was like, okay. I don't see it that way. Mm-hmm. I was doing some EMDR for some past trauma situations and through some of the PTSD that I experienced in the hospital with my son. So I felt like that was helpful to work through some of that. But currently I'm not seeing anybody.
Do you, how is your support system? Do you have people that you can rely on, people you can open up to?
So both of our families live within 10 minutes of us. So we have really great support as far as like with our son and our kids. But like my sister, I talked to my older sister about this actually. I'm one of 7 kids and my oldest sister and I are really close. So she kind of knows what's going on, but other than that, no.
So just to clarify, so your sister who you're close to, one person kind of knows what's going on. Okay. Do you see what I'm asking? And okay, so like I guess the question is like how open have you really been with people to rely on that support? You've been through so much, Allie, and so I'm just trying to assess to answer your question of where do I go from here. I think we need to understand where are you now. So what support system do you have? What type of therapy are you doing? What tools do you have right now? And you're not starting from square one. Like you got some good stuff going. But I do think there's some things that you could implement to make things a little bit better and go more smoothly. Tyler, anything you want to add to that?
No, I just want to say that hearing your story, to have done some therapy just in general, I think is good, but you've done a lot. You've figured out a lot of the basics just on like self-learning, to get into that space of self-care, to get into that space of surrendering his addiction, to not taking it personally. All of that stuff is really good work that you've been doing. So I think we're already starting in a pretty good spot. Brannon is right. Like we want to look at what else you need in order to then continue this journey that you're on, because the boundaries question about what to do now is going to be more easily answered if you have some of the basics underneath you that are going to be there to help provide the structure and support when you do that work.
That recovery capital is essential to start to turn the tide on you showing up empowered and honest and healthily boundaried. Like, so that's the groundwork that needs to be laid first. And then we get into things like actually holding those boundaries in a loving way. Having more compassion for him, but being strong at the same time. But the groundwork has to be there for that to start to take hold a little bit. So
Yeah. Would it be okay if we just outlined some of those recovery capital things and kind of did an inventory? I think you've got most of them. And then we'll step over into like the idea of boundaries and even some of the I want to even circle back to some of the things you said about the last discussion you had with your husband.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah. So when we look at recovery capital, we kind of look at some core things, and Brannon was getting to them. The first one is just, and you sounds like you're doing a really nice job with this, is we call it the daily charge. But am I actively engaged in taking good care of myself and working towards cultivating like the right kind of energy and heart every day? So you going and getting into your exercise and your self-care and realizing that that's imperative as a mom with a special needs child, like same thing is true with going through any type of recovery process. Is the emotional drain on that is so big that if you're not putting something in the top, then you're burned out and tired and resentful more often. And so you've got the recovery capital of the daily charge. That's anything physical, spiritual, emotional, social connections, all sorts of self-care kinds of things, right? Relationship with God is in there.
Can I just side note a little bit I think especially for women, Allie, it can be like, wait, you're telling me when I'm overwhelmed that I should stop and take care of myself? That goes against like things I've learned. Like, I'm supposed to sacrifice myself for my child, for my husband, for like, I'm supposed to be selfish here and take care of myself. What? Do you relate to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And we're Tyler and I are saying right now, absolutely, it's essential. Like you taking care of your body, your mind, your soul, like really being the best version of yourself and loving yourself is essential.
Yeah, it's like that lyric from Prince of Egypt in the song. Like, there's a lyric when it's like, when all you've got is nothing, there's a lot to go around. You know, if you don't put anything in the tank, then there's nothing to give, and then there's nothing for anyone. So that's the idea. The second part is I want to start looking at anything that I'm doing that is actually draining my resources emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and changing some of those patterns or behaviors. So some of the things that you just described where you're like, I'm no longer going to go chase down his recovery. That was great. That's called the line of defense. You're like, I'm not going to waste my energy on something that has no way of
You don't have
yielding
power
anything,
over.
right? So I'm surrendering that, and I've got a new line that I don't do that anymore, so I can put my resources elsewhere. The third thing, this is where Brannon was going, is the building of a team. And we want to have just at least a couple people in your life that will do a couple of things. One, they'll keep your confidences. Two, they will learn to speak your language as to like what you're dealing with. They listen to a few podcasts, or they'll want to support you in what you're doing. Three, they're going to respect your choice. And then four, they're going to show up with both empathy and a push for change at the same time. And if you have a couple people in your life like that, it makes everything else we're going to talk about today way better. And then the last thing is mindfulness practice, just the practice of meditation and mindfulness, because that expands your awareness, and expanded awareness expands choice. And so that's what we're looking for, is kind of like the basic building blocks of a solid kind of recovery.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would add just a kind of a side note that's really important. You get these building blocks, and you get this foundation to do this hard work. But as you get those things, if you can also be like willing to go do your deep trauma work,
Which
you have been, which is awesome. When you're willing to do that, then you start to address the things that will undermine you giving your power away, and realize like that's why I do it. I understand myself, and I'm not going to do that anymore because I've healed. I'm healing those things.
Mm-hmm.
And as you do that, along with this other recovery capital, then your relationship will probably get worse before it gets better, because it'll change. Like everything will start to shift and change,
Mm-hmm.
and that change a lot of times is looked at as like destruction, and you are destroying your relationship as it is.
That change will sometimes sound like your partner saying, I think all I am is a paycheck.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Healthy
Yeah.
boundaries destroy toxic relationships.
Mm.
And not that his feelings aren't valid or important, but when he says that to you, that's feedback to you of, oh, this is changing, which can be kind of scary. And even after all of the building blocks are being built and you're doing all those things, when those type of interactions happen, a lot of times people will bail. They'll be like, okay, let's go back to the old patterns because I'm worried about where we're going to land if we do this. So what are you thinking, Allie? Like as Tyler and I are just kind of talking at you, what's going through your mind?
I'm a teacher, so I'm taking notes on this, but I can just go back and re-listen to it. No, I totally hear where you're coming from, and I think that those are really essential and encouraging also to hear that I'm on, I guess, because I don't talk to anyone about this. It's good to hear that kind of validation that I'm in, like, going down the right track. I'm not way off with, as far as like self-care and being mindful and so
Doing your own therapy.
Yeah. And working on, because I'm the only thing I can control. So I'm just trying to show up the healthiest I can for him and obviously for our kids. So.
Yeah, I hear that and I see that. And I think if there's the one spot that Brannon, I think, is concerned about, it's just giving you that structure of a few other people, because what's going to end up happening is you're going to keep going and inviting change in your relationship. And there's going to be some resistance there just by the nature of change.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to have a place to fall back on where people can catch you and go, but what part do you want to keep? Like, because you're gonna come back and be like, oh, he said this, and now I'm feeling terrible because I don't want him to feel that way. And they're gonna be the ones to say, wait a minute, hold on a second. Like, did you do anything wrong there?
Right.
No, I don't think so. Where is that coming from? Is that coming from you and the way you're treating him? Or is he actually confirming to you that he believes those things about himself, as evidenced by the whole lifetime of you guys' history together, where every time it gets stressful, he provides for you by doubling down on his workaholism.
Mm-hmm.
So who's the one telling him that he's only a paycheck? It's not you. Mm-hmm. That's something coming from inside. Oh, okay. Now that team's going to push you back in, and then you're going to go back and be able to say, hey, I see you. I can see that you're feeling this, and this. And I wonder if that's tied to these beliefs. Mm-hmm. And this is another way that you could provide for me by showing up in this and this and this way. Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's a really tricky thing with betrayal trauma, and it's like there's a invisible nature to the broken boundaries with sex addiction, betrayal trauma. What most women want is a man who has strength and can provide safety and trust. And a lot of times what happens is they step into a recovery process and they get involved in groups and apply their workaholism to that or whatever. And then they turn around and they're like, what do you want from me? Like, I'm sober. So mm-hmm. They're not like breaking boundaries. Like if somebody punched me in the face, they broke my boundary. Like that's obvious. Like, you punched me in the face, right? Mm-hmm. But like for partners, sometimes it's like, I know that my boundaries are being broken, but I can't pinpoint the thing. Right. And something to understand, Allie, is even when you can't pinpoint the thing, trust your gut, and your boundaries are being broken. And so to understand what boundaries are is really important here. A boundary is not just, hey, don't act out with pornography. Mm-hmm. But a boundary is like your values. And when he says things like, what do you want from me? Question, Allie, what do you want from him? As a man, if you could have what you really want from him, what would that be?
I want I don't want him to, I know that he's going to make mistakes and I know that it's not going to be perfect, but I just want him to be honest. I just want
Honesty,
to
good
see
one.
that he's have integrity and saying, I'm struggling. And I know, like, when I wrote him that initial letter, and that's something I wrote in there, I said, I am not expecting perfection. I'm not expecting this just to be something that you've had part of your life, your entire life. I'm not expecting it just to be gone, but I am expecting honesty and integrity and just seeing some effort put into addressing it. And so that's what I want.
Okay, so I heard a couple of things in what you said. Really good things that you value. You value honesty. You value integrity. And you value that in a partnership.
She values effort too.
An effort. I heard that. So I heard some things that are really important to you. So if he's like, well, I'm sober, but you don't feel there's honesty there, you feel a breakdown in integrity, and maybe he is actually sober. Like I'm sober, but like he's like lying about this or can't be vulnerable here or can't be open about that. Like your boundary is still being broken. You're in that relationship. So I heard those good principles, but you know what else I heard, Allie? I heard you like you having to kind of almost justify or explain yourself of like, I don't expect perfection. You're caretaking for that shame of his because you're worried you're going to get kind of bludgeoned from him of like, I can't do anything right. I'm like, and so then there's that weakness on that other end of like, I need to tiptoe into telling you who I am and what I need as a woman and as your wife because I'm scared of your shame. Did you notice that too, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, what I like about that approach is she's at least acknowledging that, hey, like I don't expect perfection. That to me is like a soft way of starting the conversation. That part's fine.
I'm not saying don't do that.
Yeah, I like that a lot. But what I hear you saying is, and this is where there's another couple probably principles that need to be identified in terms of what I want in my relationship. I want a man who can hold stuff. I want a man who can hear feedback and not disappear. I want to be with someone who can actually attend to my feelings without making it about their shame, right? Like I'm looking for somebody who can be present. Those things go ahead.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you just saying that is exactly like, I wish I could just copy paste. Yeah. Yeah. You hit the nail on the head with that.
Okay. Go ahead, Brannon.
Well, we say honesty, empathy, and consistency show integrity. And so you take a person who's had an addiction for most of their life, and it has deteriorated that. Like it's just one little piece at a time. And so when a wife comes along and it's like, I want a man who's honest, empathetic, and consistent. Like I want a man who can hold space for me. They'll hear that and they'll be like, okay, like I want to do that for you, but I have no clue where to even start to do that. So I'm going to focus on being sober over here and tell you how good I am because
I'll go to work and provide for you.
And I'll go to work and I'll make money because that's what I can do because I have no clue how to actually do that honesty, empathy, and consistency thing. And as the wife, you're like, but that's what I want. Like make all the money in the world, stay as sober as you want, whatever. Like if I don't have that, I'm not safe in our relationship. And this is kind of where we get stuck with a lot of couples is you asking for that from him is awesome. That's good because you're actually calling him up as a man to be a better man of God, to step into who he is. That's awesome, Allie. But also the compassion piece for you is to understand like that he might not even like know where to start with that. Right.
I definitely see that. Yeah. When I've asked him before, like, you know, like what does recovery look like to you? Like, I'm not going to throw it out there. I'm not going to, because he doesn't like when I talk like therapy terms. Just makes he was like goes in just shut down mode. And I'm just like, what does it look like to you? And he's like, well, if I just don't think about it and I just ignore it, then it'll just go away. And I'm like, but have you noticed that that's like what you've always done? And it's always brought the same exact result. Like, what's something else? Well, and then his response, this was the conversation we actually just had, is, well, I don't have time for that. And I don't know I'm literally just trying to, work and do all these things. I just don't have time. Like, if you have time to go to the bathroom, if you have time to text, you have time to take a minute. But I don't know. It's just
Tyler, go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, I just want to say, I just want to say that I think what you said in your intro is probably true, that he and I would be really good friends. Like, we sound like we both are kind of cut from the same cloth a little bit. And a lot of the things he's saying, you kind of have to start to read between the lines on a little bit. I don't have the time for that is code for I'm totally out of my element and I only play games that I know I'm going to win at. Because the only way that I get my value is by winning. So I'm scared. I'm scared to go into the realm of learning what it's like to be present and learn empathy and learn to be like not work and actually be home with you and hold your feelings. Like, I don't know how to do any of that. So the answer I can give that's less vulnerable is I don't have time for it. Right. To tell a quick story on this, my wife came to me several years ago. And things were good between us, and we were kind of like past all the hardest stuff in the recovery process. And she kept saying, she said, Tyler, I want more of your time. I'm like, oh yeah, good idea. That's a great idea. She's like, well, tell me when you're going to create that. And I'm like, okay, I'll let you know. And then like 3 weeks later, she comes back to me. She's like, hey, you never got back to me on how to create time. She's like, I'm suggesting that you take a half day off of work each week. You let me know which day that is, if that works for you. And I'm like, yeah, good idea. And then go back to work, keep plugging people into my schedule, workaholism. She finally comes to me. She's like, hey, I'm suggesting Friday be the day that you take off because that's going to be the best for both of our schedules. And I'd really love to spend some time with you. I'm like, yeah, that's a nice idea. And then 3 weeks later, my Fridays are packed. And then she finally comes to me. She's like, hey, Tyler, I'm going to expect to see you on Friday. If not, I'm leaving.
There's a boundary.
I'm like, what? She's like, I've been asking you for the last 4 months for some of your time. And if you don't want to make time and prioritize me and the kids, I can go find somebody else to make a paycheck for me. So I've tried to let you do it on your own. I'm not going to be here and not be with the present husband. So you let me know what you think about Friday. What happened Friday? It was cleared. Yeah. I was hanging out going to lunch with my wife on Friday. And what I liked about that is that she did this like levels of pressure thing where she invited, and then she asked, and then she told, and then she just said, this is what I'm doing. Right. And I think what she was trying to do is say, come, please step in here. Right. But he doesn't understand that language. That's what Brannon's getting at right now is he's still living in a way where he'll never have time for that because he only plays the games he likes to win.
Yeah.
And he needs to learn to step into a game with some growth mindset where he's not going to be good, but he can get better.
I think if we can look at the root of it all a little bit, you think of sex addiction and like, what is a sex addict? What does the addiction do for them? Like it does a lot of different things, but at the root of it, a sex addict is looking for love and validation. Like that ultimately what they're searching for connection, love, validation. And so when they're young and the shame develops, especially being raised in a purity culture, it's like, well, now I feel a lot of shame. I feel like I'm broken. I'm not good enough. And so they go act out to feel okay for a split second, and then they feel worse about themselves. But they're searching for that love and validation. And so what happens is when they get married, they feel some good connection from their wife, and that's great. But then they act out behind the scenes, and they feel even worse about themselves. And then D-Day comes, and they're like, "Oh shoot, like cat's out of the bag." So recovery's now the thing. So now I'm going to look for love and validation from recovery. So I'm going to be a good boy. I'm going to be sober. I'm going to work hard and make money, and I'm going to prove to her that I'm lovable. I'm going to show her how good I am. And it's that same shame running the show. And versus a man who does the actual recovery work to say, look, I'm going to figure out who I am, and I'm going to figure out that I'm loved, whether my wife loves me or not. Whether a woman, I'm not going to get my validation and my worth from consuming a woman for it anymore. And so that means my work is focused on me, between me and God, in figuring this out of who I actually am. And when I figure out who I actually am between me and God, guess what? That's really attractive to a woman, right? It's like, heck yeah, like you really are a man of God because you stand on your own 2 feet with God, and I want to be close to you now. But when you're consuming me for it, and you're consuming me by making enough money and showing me how good I am, or whatever, that is not safety. That is a turnoff. Is that true, Allie?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've told him that before. I'm like, he read a book, The Miracle Morning. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. And so he was practicing that for a while. And I told him when were having one of our conversations, I just said, the times I've felt closest to you and when I've really felt that polarity in our relationship, where I felt just your masculine energy and just really felt like loved by you, was when you were getting up every day and you were being mindful and you were just spending time just being peaceful and all that. And he was like, yeah. I was trying to get around to like when you are showing up that way, it makes me feel safe. It makes me feel secure.
Yeah.
So when I say that there has been times where I felt that, absolutely. And so I know I don't feel like this is just like a hopeless situation, even though sometimes I do feel hopeless about it. It's like, because I've seen bits and pieces of him truly trying to, like you said, trying to figure out who he is, and really chasing after his own heart and his, who God created him to be. But like, I just feel like this last little bit, it's just been, like I said, this crazy cycle of just working and not making time for those things.
Sounds like the frustrating thing is like you can see his real heart and what a good person he is and an important person he is to God. But like you want him to like step into that fully and more consistently.
Yeah. Or recognize it, like, I see these great things in you and I know who you are and I know your strengths and abilities. And, I think that even listening to your podcast has just really helped me realize, like, speaking truth over your husband is so valuable, right? And kind of calling him up like, hey, I see these things in you. I know that you can do these things. But I also think, like you said, it creates, when you do those things and you see those things, it also creates that distance, because it's like, I'm seeing that potential and seeing how I know he cares, but it comes across that he doesn't care and that he doesn't want that for himself. So it makes the relationship seem hard and broken. So.
Yeah, I like what you said. And I think that's maybe part of the question you had about boundaries and things like that earlier, is how do I hold boundaries when I feel like he's just going through the emotions? And where Brannon was going earlier is a place to come back to over and over again, like a broken record. It's principles. So that when he meets you with, I'm working like crazy and I've been sober for months, the trick is to say, yes, thank you, and back to the principles. So, and I'm still looking for effort and honesty and integrity. And this is something that I didn't really fully understand for a long time, but my wife would say, I just don't know you, Tyler. I want to see your humanness. And I was like, you see everything I do. You see me go to work. You see me do this. And she's like, I actually love you more on the few occasions when you can't cover up your imperfections. She's like, I want to see that you're human. I love seeing your humanity. Now that's tricky, because this is a caution for anyone listening, and maybe to you too. I don't know if you relate to this. Sometimes when you get a guy like him, if he's a lot like me, I don't know if he's not, I'm inferring this. If he decides to finally step into the realm of a new world that he's not good at, he's going to suck at it. Like, and oftentimes the partner who's saying, hey, I want empathy, and he finally steps in to practice empathy, and it's horrible empathy, it's terrible. Then what they do is they smack him back down like whack-a-mole, like, no, you sucked at empathy, that's terrible, like bam bam. And then pretty soon he's gonna be like, I'm not going back into that realm. Right. But what if it's more like the Beauty and the Beast when he's trying to feed the birds and he's like spilling the seeds everywhere, and she's just kind of like smiling, like, oh, I love the effort. Like, I see the effort. Thank you. Maybe next time this would be more effective, so that every time there's an effort towards those principles, that's just as important to inviting things to go right as the correction of everything that's wrong. So you're calling up with principles, and then you're kind of acknowledging effort when you see it.
Okay.
On the times that you do. Sometimes you won't see it for long periods of time, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Allie, have we confused you more today, or have we helped?
No, I think you've definitely helped. I think that the one time I was going to share this earlier, and I don't want to I don't know if this will just take too long to
go
cover,
for it.
But the one time that I did hold up a boundary, we did have I think we actually still have it, but I don't ever check it. It's like on our phones so that it protects his phone from anything popping up or whatever. Well, I got an alert on my phone that he was looking at something, and I clicked on it because I never get the alerts to my phone. And I had seen that he had looked at something, an image or whatever. And so I didn't say anything for 24 hours because I was like, I'm going to wait and calm myself down first. I don't want to just like fly off the handle. Like, what are you looking at? Why is this popping up on my phone? And so I waited 24 hours also to give him an opportunity to share with me like, oh, hey, he's never actually come to me, which is another struggle, is that it's always been a find. It's never been like, oh, I'm struggling, obviously. And so when I did ask him about it, I just slid my phone across the table and said, hey, this popped up on my phone. What's going on? And he said, explained to me that it was something, and he clicked on a link, and I was like, okay. I just said, I'm going to need some space and some time. And, I want some separation. And so I don't want you in our bedroom. Like, you're going to have to either go somewhere else or find a different room to stay in. But I just need some space and I gave him a time limit. I think I said 5 or 7 days or something like that. Mm-hmm. But his response, and this kind of goes with the boundaries, his response was just immediate defensiveness, anger, frustration, and then shame. I can't do anything right. I'm just the worst. Just it just makes me feel like it's just this unhealthy cycle of yes, he did respect my boundary and didn't try to be like, oh, I can, explain his way out of it. Cause I think at that point he knew he was caught, but I think that's the first and last time I ever held up that boundary, just because going through that cycle was so awful. It was just such a bad experience of him being so shameful and shame-ridden. And I'm just trying to stand, stay in my power of hey, because I did need the space. I did need the, and so I don't know how, was that a good thing to do, a bad thing to do? I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. That was courageous and awesome that you did that, Allie. But the one thing to consider is when we talk about boundaries, the boundaries, think about they're based from principles, but they're also knowing where he stops and you begin. So when you speak your truth and you say, I need some space, and he goes to shame or he goes to anger or blame, or what he's trying to do is pull you in. He's trying, this is where it's look, you rescue me. You're the problem. You're overboard. You're this, you're that, or whatever, or I'm the worst. Come save me. So he's trying to pull you in, and your boundary is knowing where he stops and you begin. And it might feel a little bit cold in those moments, but he needs to learn how to go deal with his shame. He needs to learn how to go deal with frustration around something you say or do, rather than you step in and take care of it in that moment. And he's probably used to you caving a little bit in those moments.
You're absolutely right. When you said that, I was like, oh, that's why I felt so bad about it. Cause I just felt like he just turned it around so quickly. And I was, yeah.
And that so he'll
Absolutely.
push one button, and if it doesn't work, like he'll go to the shame thing. And if you don't come rescue, then he'll go to the blame. Like you'll never love me. I'm never enough. I'm
Or the
right.
disappear and work thing.
And then if that doesn't work, he'll go just shut off, or he'll go to hopelessness. Like he'll try different things to get you. And when he starts to realize like, oh shoot, like Allie's not the answer here. I'm the answer. So now I need to go turn to my recovery, go work that, get really accountable and honest with myself. Figure out why I'm not holding space for her in this moment. I did click on something. I did like not disclose it. I lied about it, and that's the truth. And I need to clean that up, and I need to deal with that. All of a sudden it's not about you anymore, right? But do you see how hard that is in that moment? Like that is this is why your support system matters. So as soon as he starts turning the tables and he starts gaslighting in these ways, you call somebody that you've worked on this relationship, you brought him into that inner circle, you fortified your recovery, and you're like, look, talk me through this. I need to stay strong. I need to hand this back over to him. Right? Do you see
What's the most loving way to give it back to him? And that's the second part of the discussion. So most of us measure our boundaries by the response of the person that we're working the boundaries with, as right or wrong, and that's never the right answer.
Yeah, no.
Like, you're shocked that your husband's going into his shame over a change in your relationship. Oh, is the boundary wrong?
Right.
No. Right. The boundaries are from an internal place, and especially a wrestle with higher power on my values. And your values are also that you care about him and that you love him. So then after the initial boundary, and then he goes into that space, ask yourself, how would I invite things to go right without losing myself or my values? And so now as I'm staying there, instead of getting sucked all the way into like, no, you're a really good man. Like, actually, you're a really good guy. Like, instead it's going to be more like, ooh, I can see that you're working through some shame right now. And I imagine that's pretty rough for you. I hope that you reach out to someone in your group or your sponsor or somebody and get yourself put back together.
And that right back over.
Like, I know you're capable of that. Like, let me know when you're ready to talk again.
I definitely need to see that in my life, that I need to do that better for sure. Yeah.
That's practice, but it's hard because you have that internal part that Brannon's talking about. That's like, no, I don't want the broken attachment there either. Like, and I don't want to feel like I'm mean. You know, you're like, you probably have a part of yourself that feels like, I had a woman one time do an art project, and she had this little tiny dog that was barking. And then she had a big, massive dog that was barking. And she said, every time I set a boundary, I think I'm this dog, but I'm actually really this little one, you know? But it feels like I'm just being so mean. And it's like, no, you're not being mean. Remember, what I'm doing is inviting. My boundaries are an invitation as much as they are a wall. They're, hey, I want you in my space if you can live these values, right? So that's what you're doing on that second part of the conversation while you let him be him.
Okay. That's really good. I definitely see how that is needed in those boundary moments, and how I think I need to be more aware of my response to his defensiveness and his, the way that he kind of just falls back into shame and I can't do anything right. So
I was reading a book. It was called, I can't remember. It was called like How to Be an Adult or something. And it's interesting because we all show up as kids. Like, we all do it. I hate to admit it, but, and what kids do is they want their needs met. And so they get strategic with trying to get their needs met. And it's like, I have one of my kids shuts down all the time and mopes around and plays the victim. I have another one that gets big and loud and just like yells, and she just explodes, right? And so like they do these different things, and they're different humans, but they do them over and over again because to some degree they work. And if I become a child with them, then they really work. But when I regulate my emotions and I'm a safe place and I'm honest and I give the consequences back to them, then they learn. I give them the opportunity to learn because I'm not engaging. The power struggle is not there. The unhealthy attachment isn't there. So now they get to learn because I'm just the steady presence with the truth, with what the truth is in that moment. Same thing happens in our relationships. And whose job is it to be the adult? Whoever can be in that moment.
Yeah. I think to speak to that, I feel like, because I see like what you're saying about like even my own children, because I like very much approach discipline that way. Like I will not be part of that crazy, like these are the rules, these are the consequences. I'm sorry you chose that. Let's move on. Yeah. And so I think that part of the reason I feel like I have a hard time doing that with Aaron is because then it does put me in that one up, one down power position, or feel like the mom. And I like despise that because I feel like there's been other parts in our marriage where I felt like that, like getting up in the morning when we first were married or things like that. It's like, I'm not your mom. Like, why are you expecting me to wake you up? You know what I mean? So I feel like it was I feel like that puts me in that position, which is why I think I also try not to be put in that
sucks.
Position. Does that makes sense?
But is there a way to do it where you're not condescending?
Right.
Because think of the alternative is like, if he's acting like a child and you don't want to feel like the mom, so should you go act like the child with him?
Right.
No, be the adult, but don't be condescending. You're not his mom. You're his wife. You see his power. You believe in him. I want you to step up as a man because you're my husband. And so I'm not going to be condescending, but he might feel that way. He still might take it that way. Right?
Yeah.
So.
Did we get to your question today, Allie?
I think so. Yeah. I definitely am excited to listen to this back and just work on those boundaries, work on the things that I can work on for myself, and just your encouragement that I'm headed in the right direction. So I'll definitely be looking hopefully for a new therapist soon, and just really building out a team of support so that I can be standing in those boundaries and showing up in a healthy way for my husband and my kids.
We can help you with a good therapist. And if he listens to this, I'd love to meet him. I'd love for you guys to come on as a couple. If you had the courage to do it, I'd love it. So
he doesn't know that I'm here today. He's out of town. I think if I told him that I was this, he'd be like, "What?"
Just randomly text it to him, like, "Oh, look what came out today."
Hey, I heard a really great podcast today.
I would love that. I would love if he could listen back. So he is.
Allie, I don't know if you're already there or not, but another starting place for you that could just give a little bit more support would be at what Brannon and I have with reclaimyourheart.org, if you're not on that already. Okay. But there's just a free community there where people can get on and ask questions and keep a discussion going and get some support that way too. That would be like the light level. What I'd love for you to have is, a good therapist and or a good core couple group of women that would understand what you're working on and support you that way. So thank you for coming on today and for sharing yourself so much.
Yeah, it's so great to meet you guys. I just really appreciate your hearts and just the wisdom that you guys have. So
thank you.
To our listeners, if there's anything valuable here for yourself or for someone that you know, please share. If you like what you're getting from Brannon and I, another way to support us without costing anything is just to like and subscribe on any place you're listening. And we love having you. We love your feedback. And until next time, keep on keeping on.